The galaxy cast them out, but humanity took them. In the galaxy was wide and cold, a dark sea filled with stars, planets, and mysteries that had no name. In this vast expanse, countless civilizations rose and fell, trading stories, technologies, and sometimes wars. Yet for all its grandeur, the galaxy could be cruel. Some species were punished, some were feared, and some were simply abandoned. Among them were the Xerans, a proud alien race with translucent skin that shimmered like liquid crystal under any light. Once respected members of the Galactic Council, they now drifted in exile, cast out for refusing to join a war they could not condone. The Xerans' ship, the Elysium Drift, limped through the emptiness near the Orion Edge, a dangerous region where stars burned unevenly and radiation storms surged unpredictably. The ship had survived countless attacks, but it was dying now. Systems failed one by one. Life support groaned under pressure. Inside, the Xerans worked tirelessly, repairing what they could, but even their advanced technology could not fight the inevitable decay of time and damage. "Life support stabilizers at 40%, Chiron, the Xeran leader, said, his voice steady but tinged with desperation. He was taller than most humans would imagine, limbs delicate yet strong, and his eyes glowed faintly like molten silver. "We cannot hold out much longer. If we do not find help soon, we will be lost." The other Xerans, though weakened, nodded in silent agreement. Each had endured hardship since the Council's sentence. Cast out from their home systems, denied access to resources, and hunted by bounty fleets seeking to enforce the Council's will, they had learned survival in its harshest form. Yet now, even their resilience faltered. As the Elysium Drift drifted further into the cluster, a small, unexpected pulse of energy reached them. Another ship was nearby. It was weak, almost imperceptible, but it carried a familiar signature, a species that did not fear to aid the exiled. On Earth, the situation was much different. Humanity had reached a point of technological achievement that few species had predicted. Starships sailed beyond the solar system. Mining colonies thrived on Mars and the moons of Jupiter, and the Earth Space Council was a respected voice in interstellar politics. Yet despite their accomplishments, humans were still young compared to many other galactic civilizations. Their morality, ingenuity, and adaptability were the true measures of their power. In the central hub of the Council station orbiting Earth, Captain HFY studied a screen filled with incoming data. The station hummed with activity, engineers monitoring communications, scientists tracking distant phenomena, and diplomats parsing messages from dozens of civilizations. "Captain," a young communications officer said, his voice tight with urgency. "We're receiving an unusual signal. It's weak, fragmented, but definitely intelligent." HFY leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Origin? Near the Orion Edge, far outside our standard patrol routes," the officer replied. "The data suggests a ship in distress." "We can't confirm the species yet." HFY's mind raced. The Orion Edge was dangerous. Asteroid clusters, radiation storms, gravitational anomalies. Any ship venturing there unprepared was likely doomed. Yet something about the signal resonated with her instincts. It was not the first distress call humanity had received, but there was something, urgent, almost pleading in the transmission. "Send a detailed scan," HFY commanded. "I want every piece of information we can get before we decide on a course." Within minutes, the station's scanners began to map the signal. The ship was badly damaged, drifting toward a collapsing star cluster. Its energy readings were inconsistent, like a heartbeat slowing in its final moments. Then through the static, a voice emerged, a melodic alien tone that carried both dignity and fear. "Help, please do not leave us," it said. The room went silent. Humans were not strangers to alien life, but hearing a species call out with such clear desperation was jarring. The Council officers exchanged uneasy glances. "This is dangerous," said Ambassador Lyra, her voice cautious. "It could be a trap. We have no confirmation of the species, and the region is not secure. Engaging could provoke other powers." HFY shook her head. "They're not asking for war, Ambassador. They're asking for help. If we ignore this, we're letting life die when we can save it. That is not who we are." After hours of debate, the Council voted. The decision was not unanimous, but humanity chose to act. A rescue team would be sent to the Orion Edge. Captain HFY would lead it. The Aurora Sentinel, a sleek human rescue vessel, departed Earth's orbit at high speed. Its crew was a mix of veterans, scientists, engineers, and medics, all trained to operate in extreme conditions. As they entered deep space, Asha stood on the observation deck, watching the stars streak by. "Captain," her first officer said, approaching quietly, "do you think they'll survive until we get there?" Asha considered the question. "I don't know," she admitted. "But we won't know if we don't try. Whatever species they are, they've made it this far. That shows resilience. That shows life worth saving." Days passed in tense travel. Navigating the Orion Edge was treacherous. Asteroid fields demanded precision maneuvers, radiation storms forced shields to their limits, and gravitational anomalies threatened to pull the Aurora Sentinel into deadly orbits. Each challenge tested the crew's skill and their trust in one another. Then finally the sensors detected the Elysium drift. The ship was battered, its hull pockmarked with damage, engines barely operational. Panels flickered and warning lights blinked in desperate rhythms, and yet it was still drifting, still alive. "Visual confirmation," Asha announced. The crew leaned over screens, gasping at the sight. The Ziran ship was unlike any human vessel, organic in shape, glowing faintly with an internal light, elegant even in ruin. A communication channel opened, and Chiron's voice came through again. You came," Asha smiled faintly. "We always try." The rescue was not simple. Boarding the Elysium drift required navigating through broken corridors, unstable floors, and failing life support systems. Humans worked alongside Zirans, who moved with a strange, fluid grace despite exhaustion. Engineers patched critical systems while medics tended to the injured. Chiron watched the humans with quiet amazement. You do not fear us," he said softly. "Other species would not come. They would leave us to die to avoid the Council's anger." Asha replied, "We do not act out of fear. We act because it is right. Life deserves a chance." By the time the operation ended, most of the Zirans had been evacuated safely to the Aurora Sentinel. The Elysium drift was too damaged to repair in space, and it would eventually drift into a nearby star cluster. Yet for the Zirans, survival was all that mattered. As the human ship pulled away from the debris, Chiron approached Asha. "I do not know your species fully, but I feel hope. You are unlike others. You give without expecting conquest. You fight without seeking revenge. Perhaps this galaxy is not as lost as I thought." Asha nodded. "We are far from perfect, but we try. That is all any species can do." The journey back to Earth was quieter, though no less tense. Zirans were wary but grateful. Humans were curious, eager to learn about their new passengers. Conversations filled the ship, questions about culture, technology, and life experiences. For the first time in many cycles, the Zirans felt a warmth they had not known in exile. For Captain Asha, the mission was a reminder of why humanity ventured into the stars. Not for power, not for conquest, but for compassion. Every light year they traveled, every system they navigated, was a testament to the belief that life, in any form, was worth fighting for. By the time Earth's atmosphere came into view, the crew of the Aurora Sentinel knew they had done more than rescue a dying species. They had begun a new chapter in galactic history, one where humanity's reach was measured not just in light years, but in kindness, courage, and hope. Chiron stood beside Asha as they prepared for landing. "If the galaxy has cast us out," he said, voice steady, "then perhaps humanity will show us a place where exiles can live freely." Asha smiled, feeling the weight of the journey behind them and the promise ahead. "Welcome home," she said. "Earth is open to all who seek it, and we will protect life wherever it calls." The stars stretched endlessly beyond the viewport, shining as if in agreement. In that vast, indifferent galaxy, one truth remained. Humans had chosen to act with heart, and that choice would ripple farther than anyone could imagine. The Aurora Sentinel descended through Earth's atmosphere slowly, carrying its unusual passengers across the familiar blue and green of the planet. Humans watched in quiet fascination as the Zirans looked down at Earth for the first time. Their eyes, shimmering with an inner light, reflected awe at forests, oceans, and cities glimmering in the sunlight. For the Zirans, whose worlds had been lost to war, exile, and cold politics, Earth seemed almost unreal, a place untouched by cruelty, at least for now. Captain Asha guided the ship to a secure landing platform at the Earth Space Council's primary station, located in a remote desert region chosen for both secrecy and safety. Scientists, engineers, and medical personnel were ready. Even some diplomats had arrived, curious to witness this unprecedented moment, the arrival of a completely new alien species seeking sanctuary. As the ship's ramps descended, the Zirans stepped onto Earth's surface. Their movements were careful, almost tentative. Their long, fluid limbs made soft impressions on the landing pads, and their translucent skin shimmered under the sunlight, reflecting colors humans had never seen before. Some humans could not help but stare, fascinated by the elegance and fragility of beings that had survived so much. Chiron, their leader, spoke softly to his companions. "Stay calm, they have not judged us yet." Asha approached, her uniform crisp, her posture firm yet welcoming. "Welcome to Earth," she said. "You are safe here. For now at least no one will harm you." The Zirans hesitated, eyes scanning for danger, but they slowly began to relax. It was a strange kind of relief for humans to witness, the cautious trust of a species that had only known rejection. Integration began immediately. Scientists wanted to understand Ziran biology. Engineers were curious about their technology, which seemed to operate on principles humans had not fully discovered. Medics worked tirelessly to stabilize those injured during the journey. The Zirans, in turn, studied humans with equal interest. They were fascinated by human tools, energy systems, and even the way humans socialized. Chiron spoke during the first formal meeting with Earth's Council. "We have lived among the stars, yet we have known exile, fear, and rejection. Humanity has shown us something rare, the willingness to act without coercion, without reward, simply because it is right. This is unfamiliar to us, yet it inspires hope." Ashan nodded. "We do not claim to be perfect, but life matters and we do what we can to protect it. That is all we ask of others, compassion where it is needed." Over the following weeks, Earth transformed into a temporary home for the Zirans. Scientists adapted habitats for them, regulating light, temperature, and gravity to mimic conditions closer to their natural environment. Some Zirans were sensitive to certain wavelengths of light, while others needed atmospheric adjustments. Humans learned quickly, improvising devices and systems that accommodated these needs, while the Zirans observed and offered subtle advice to improve efficiency. It was not easy. Differences in communication, physiology, and habits led to small misunderstandings. Zirans' voices were melodic and complex, their speech layered with tones humans could barely hear. Translators helped, but often the subtleties were lost. Humans sometimes moved too quickly, eager to help or understand, while Zirans valued patience and observation. One day, a young human scientist named Lena Torres tried to teach a Ziran child to play a simple Earth game. The child's long fingers awkwardly fumbled the pieces, while humans laughed in good humor. "You must be patient," Chiron said quietly. "We are learning your ways, but it is not simple for us," Lena smiled. "And it is not simple for us to learn yours. That is what makes this work, both sides trying." While integration progressed, tensions brewed outside the walls of Earth stations. News of the Zirans' arrival reached distant corners of the galaxy. Many species were curious, but some were wary. The Galactic Council, still bitter about the Zirans' exile, saw humanity's actions as interference in political affairs. Messages arrived on Earth, warnings veiled as diplomatic communications. They demanded that the Zirans be returned or face consequences. Asha read the messages carefully. "They are testing us," she said to her team. "They want to see if we will follow rules or do what is right. They may threaten, but we will not surrender life because others fear it." Chiron listened silently, absorbing the messages with a mixture of amusement and admiration. "Humans are unusual," he said later to Asha. "Other species obey rules out of fear. You act out of choice, even when fear exists. That is remarkable." Even so, preparation was necessary. Humans began upgrading defenses around the Ziran habitats, not to start a war, but to ensure that no one could remove the Zirans by force. Engineers worked with Zirans to design energy shields, automated monitoring drones, and escape protocols that could move them safely off-world if needed. Life, however, was not all tension. Humans and Zirans began to exchange knowledge in unexpected ways. Zirans had mastered energy manipulation techniques that allowed for efficient power generation and subtle starship control. Humans shared engineering methods, medicine, and even philosophy. For the first time, both species realized that cooperation could create something far greater than isolation. One evening, Chiron walked among human engineers in a lab filled with soft light. "Your species' creativity is not limited by fear," he observed. "You invent, explore, and adapt, even when failure is possible. That is why you survive where others might not." Engineer Ravi Singh smiled. "We've learned that failure is just another step. If we fear it too much, we never try." "We admire your persistence, too. It took courage to survive all you have." Chiron nodded. "Perhaps together we can accomplish what neither species could alone." Amid this cooperation, small cultural exchanges brought laughter and warmth. Humans introduced Xerans to music, art, and simple Earth traditions. Xerans shared stories of their lost homeworlds, their history, and their unique festivals that celebrated light, reflection, and the passage of time. Some humans struggled to understand the symbolism, but the effort itself built bonds. Children became the bridge between species. Human children eagerly learned Xeran games, and Xeran children mimicked human songs. Laughter echoed through the habitats, something neither species expected to hear in so long. Still, not all humans were at ease. Some worried that aiding exiles would draw political or military retaliation. Others feared that Xerans might have secrets or hidden motives. Debates were frequent and intense. Ambassador Lyra often spoke, trying to mediate. "We cannot ignore caution," she reminded the council. "But we must balance it with morality. These beings are alive and we can help. That alone gives us reason." Ashau responded with quiet conviction. "Caution is necessary, yes, but fear cannot guide our decisions. Only reason, compassion, and courage can. We will protect life, yours, mine, and theirs, because it is the right choice." Weeks passed, and humanity's patience paid off. Xerans became familiar with Earth systems. Their medical conditions improved, and new technologies began to emerge from collaboration. Small projects flourished. Hybrid engines combining human and Xeran designs, sustainable energy systems inspired by Xeran principles, and even cultural centers where both species could share art, music, and ideas. Chiron, once wary of all others, began to smile more often. He observed humans with quiet respect. "You have not only saved us from death," he said to Ashad during a quiet walk on the station's observation deck. "You have given us purpose again. You teach, protect, and create without expectation. That is rare among species." Ashad replied, "We do what we can. We are not perfect, but we try. If that inspires you, then it is enough." But the peace was fragile. Distant scanners detected council ships moving closer to Earth, observing quietly but with clear intent. Their presence was a reminder. The galaxy had not forgotten the Xerans' exile. Warnings, threats, and careful reconnaissance suggested that the Council would act if humanity continued its protection. Chiron sensed it too. "They are watching," he said. "Soon they may come. And they will expect you to hand us over." Ashad's gaze hardened. "Then we will not hand you over. We will protect you. We may be young, but we are capable, and we are not alone." The Xerans and humans began planning together, preparing for potential confrontation. Not for conquest, not for war, but to defend life. Their collaboration, trust, and shared creativity became their strength, something no council could fully understand or predict. As night fell over Earth, the lights of the station glowed like distant stars on the desert floor. Humans and Xerans worked, laughed, and shared stories, unaware of how deeply their alliance would change the galaxy. For the first time in cycles, the Xerans felt hope, not just survival, but the possibility of belonging. And for humans, the presence of these exiles reminded them of why they ventured into the stars. Not for glory, but to protect, to help, and to rise above fear. The galaxy watched silently, some with curiosity, some with caution. Yet one truth was clear. Humans had chosen to act with heart, and their choices were already rippling outward, far beyond Earth, far beyond expectation. The calm that had settled over Earth's deserts was fragile. From deep space, distant council ships began to appear, their forms cutting through the stars like sharp blades. They moved silently, efficiently, as if the galaxy itself had given them a single, clear purpose: to reclaim the Xerans. The message from the Galactic Council had been unmistakable. Humanity had no right to shelter the exiled. The Xerans must return or face consequences. Captain Ashara now watched the scanners aboard the Earth Space Council station, the tension in the air almost tangible. "They're here," she said quietly, her eyes tracing the paths of the incoming fleet. Her first officer, Lieutenant Dara Chen, leaned over her shoulder. Their numbers, they outgun us completely. Even our advanced systems would struggle against that formation. Ashaz's jaw tightened. Strength is not the only measure of victory. Humans have something they do not: creativity, adaptability, and courage. We will not surrender life because others demand it. Chiron, standing beside her, remained calm but alert. His voice was soft but carried the weight of experience. They will test your limits. They may think this is a game of intimidation. You must be ready for anything. The Council fleet positioned itself at the edge of Earth's solar system. Ships larger than anything humanity had built hovered in perfect formation. Their energy signatures glowed like ominous suns, a clear demonstration of their firepower. Communications channels opened, and a voice, stern and cold, reached the humans. This planet shelters exiles. You are instructed to hand them over. Failure to comply will be met with force. The Galactic Council does not negotiate with those who interfere. Ashaz's response was calm, measured, but resolute. These beings are under our protection. They are alive, and we will not abandon them. If you wish to act against us, know that life will be defended. The voice paused, as if considering the words before fading. The Council had issued a warning, but humanity's decision was clear. Preparation became urgent. Humans worked tirelessly to strengthen Earth's defenses. Engineers retrofitted orbital stations with energy shields capable of withstanding high-energy plasma attacks. Satellites were repositioned to create a layered defense network. Emergency evacuation plans were coordinated with the Xerans, including specialized pods designed to survive deep space travel. Chiron assisted in these preparations, guiding humans in adapting Xeran technology to improve shield efficiency and maneuvering systems. Your approach is innovative, he remarked, observing a hybrid shield generator. Combining human and Xeran principles, it may surprise your adversaries. Ashaz nodded. It must. Strength alone will not save us. We will use our intelligence, our unpredictability, and our will to survive. That is humanity's advantage. The Council's ships advanced slowly, testing Earth's defenses. At first, their attacks were limited, small energy pulses designed to gauge reaction. Humans observed carefully, noting patterns, weaknesses, and response times. Each Council maneuver was precise, calculated, and deadly. You see, Chiron said, pointing to a simulation, they rely on predictability. Their tactics are efficient but rigid. Humans, however, are unpredictable. That is where your strength lies. Ashaz smiled faintly. Then we will be unpredictable. The first confrontation occurred in orbit around the moon. Council strike ships entered range, firing energy beams meant to disable Earth's orbital defenses. Humans responded immediately. Using hybrid shields, careful evasive maneuvers, and decoy satellites, they absorbed and deflected the attacks. Human ingenuity combined with Xeran technology created unexpected results. Energy beams that were meant to tear through metal dissipated harmlessly against adaptive shields. In the command room of the Aurora Sentinel, Ashaz coordinated the countermeasures. Activate the decoys, she commanded. Target the lead ship's sensors with reflective bursts. Make them think we are weaker than we are. The plan worked. The Council ships recalibrated, assuming Earth's defenses were less effective than they appeared. Humans had bought themselves crucial time to strengthen their positions, but the Council fleet was relentless. They adapted quickly, targeting human command ships with precision strikes. Human crews moved with speed and focus, repairing damage in real time, rerouting energy, and improvising strategies. Xeran pilots, used to fluid, adaptive movements, assisted in coordinating unconventional attacks. Chiron piloted one of the Xeran support ships, moving with grace through the chaos. Your strategy is clever, he said to Ashaz over the comms. You do not meet them head-on, you guide them, mislead them, and protect what matters. That is admirable. Ashaz replied calmly, life is what matters. That is our mission, nothing else. As the battle intensified, Earth's people watched from the station, anxious yet inspired. Humanity's ability to adapt, to respond creatively under pressure, became the defining advantage. Council ships were large and powerful, but rigid. Humans and Xerans, small and flexible, moved in ways that were difficult to anticipate. Using hybrid technology, humans developed energy traps, fields that could temporarily disable Council ships without destroying them. These traps allowed Earth forces to isolate and neutralize key threats, protecting civilian areas while minimizing damage. Chiron observed, impressed. No species has done this before. You are not merely defending, you are creating something entirely new. Ashaz's expression was focused. We do what is necessary. Protecting life requires action, not theory. The battle's climax came when the Council's flagship, a massive ship bristling with energy cannons, targeted Earth directly. Its sheer size and firepower threatened to overwhelm the defenses. Humans devised a bold plan, a coordinated strike using Xeran energy manipulation devices combined with human plasma cannons. The hybrid attack struck with precision, exploiting the flagship's rigid defense patterns. The ship's systems faltered, energy fluctuations rippling across its hull. For a moment, the Council fleet hesitated. Never before had they faced an opponent that combined innovation, unpredictability, and moral resolve. Chiron remarked quietly, "They are not prepared for beings who fight to protect, not conquer. That is why you succeed." Ashag gave a single order. Now full system override, protect Earth at all costs. The flagship systems overloaded, forcing it to retreat. Smaller Council ships, witnessing the unexpected turn, pulled back as well. The Council had underestimated humanity's resourcefulness, courage, and commitment to life. In the aftermath, silence settled over space. Humans and Xerans began assessing the damage, repairing ships, and tending to the wounded. Despite exhaustion, there was relief, a shared understanding that they had survived what few thought possible. Chiron approached Ashad in the observation deck. His eyes, glowing softly, reflected awe and gratitude. "You have done what no one else could. You have protected us when all else abandoned life. Humans, you are remarkable." Ashad looked at him, tired but resolute. "We did what was right. That is all any species can do, and we will continue to do so as long as we can." The Council had not been defeated, only delayed. Messages of warning continued to arrive, though less aggressive. Yet humans understood that diplomacy and preparation, combined with ingenuity and courage, could achieve what force alone could not. As the crew rested, humans and Xerans shared moments of quiet reflection. Xeran children played with human counterparts, laughing under artificial light in the habitat domes. Scientists discussed new technologies, dreaming of possibilities they had never imagined before the alliance. Engineers refined shields and energy systems, constantly testing, learning, improving. Chiron observed, a rare smile on his face. "Perhaps exile was not the end for us," he said. "Perhaps it was the beginning of something greater." Humanity has shown that even in a galaxy of rules and fear, life can be protected and trust can be built. Ashad nodded. "It is only the beginning. We have much to learn from each other, and together we can ensure that life, any life, is never abandoned again." Earth remained calm for now, but the galaxy beyond watched closely. Other species, some curious, some fearful, began to reconsider humanity's place in the cosmos. A young species, yet untested by politics and war on a galactic scale, had faced overwhelming odds and succeeded, not by conquest, but by courage, adaptability, and compassion. Chiron, once wary of all others, now stood beside humans as equals. The Xerans had survived, not merely because of superior technology, but because someone had dared to act morally when fear could have led to inaction. Humanity's ingenuity, creativity, and heart had turned the tide, and in doing so they had become a symbol for life in the galaxy. The Council would return, that was certain, but humans were ready. Not because they were the strongest, but because they were unpredictable, fearless, and guided by principles that no fleet could destroy. Above all, Earth had shown the galaxy something rare, the courage to act when no one else would, and that courage was contagious. For now, humans and Xerans celebrated survival, cooperation, and the hope that their partnership would shape a future where exiles were no longer abandoned but protected. The galaxy had cast them out, but humanity had taken them in. Earth had begun to feel alive in a new way. The deserts where the Xerans first landed were now dotted with domes, laboratories, training grounds, and learning centers. Humans and Xerans worked side by side, building a world that belonged to both of them. Life was busy, loud, and unpredictable, but in a way that felt full of purpose. Captain Ashara now walked among the laboratories, observing the blending of human and Xeran technology. Devices hummed with energy, hybrid engines purred like living creatures, and holographic displays traced circuits of systems neither species could have built alone. Xerans floated near the workstations, translucent forms glinting with colors that changed as their emotions shifted. Humans moved with focused energy, adjusting tools, offering guidance, and testing new ideas. Chiron watched quietly from a distance, speaking softly to Asha. Your species does not settle for safety or comfort. You seek knowledge, improvements, and unity. That is inspiring. Asha smiled. We learn from necessity and curiosity. Both of us are alive now, and that gives us reason to grow. The first major joint project was a space travel training program. Humans taught Xerans how to pilot starships using Earth-designed controls, while Xerans shared their understanding of energy fields, faster-than-light navigation, and subtle maneuvers unknown to human pilots. In simulation rooms, both species learned from mistakes, adapted, and improvised. Your methods are different, Chiron noted during one session, observing a group of young human pilots. You react quickly, improvising as needed. We rely on observation and prediction. Together, these approaches are powerful, Ashan nodded. It is the combination that matters. Alone, either method can fail. Together, we adapt faster than any single species could. Meanwhile, Xeran children explored human habitats with curiosity, learning games, languages, and stories from their new friends. Laughter echoed in places that had once been silent. Humans learned Xeran art and music, simple melodies that resonated with a delicate, fluid beauty. A new rhythm began to emerge, Earth and Xeran culture intertwined, creating harmony through shared experience. Not all humans were comfortable with the pace of integration. Some questioned the wisdom of trusting a species they barely knew. Could Xerans be hiding secrets? Would the Galactic Council return with greater force? Debates were heated but civil, guided by humanity's core principles: discussion, understanding, and morality. Ambassador Lyra addressed the council one morning. We must not allow fear to dictate our decisions. The Xerans are not threats, they are survivors. Protecting them does not weaken us, it strengthens our character. It proves that Earth is a place of refuge, hope, and innovation. Asha added, the galaxy will watch how we act. If we lead with courage and morality, others will follow. Our choices now are the foundation for what comes next. Chiron watched the conversation with silent respect. Humans were young in the galaxy, but their moral clarity and dedication to life were unmatched. Other species often acted from fear, revenge, or politics, but humans acted from principle. It was a lesson Xerans had long thought impossible to find. Human engineers and Xeran scientists began creating new hybrid technologies. Energy systems that once consumed entire planets' worth of resources were now compact, efficient, and renewable. Starship engines became faster, quieter, and more adaptable. Shields and defensive systems grew stronger, yet lighter and more flexible. Each day, the combined efforts of the two species produced innovations neither could have achieved alone. Chiron marveled at the work. In all our years, we have never collaborated like this. Humans take risks, but they also protect. That balance, it is rare. Asha replied, we protect because life is worth the risk. Without risk, survival is impossible, and without protection, survival is meaningless. But cooperation alone could not prepare them for political realities. News arrived from the distant galaxy. Smaller species, previously oppressed or ignored by the Council, were taking note of Earth's defiance. Messages arrived, some offering alliances, others expressing curiosity or hope. The galaxy was beginning to see humans not as a young, inexperienced species, but as a rising force defined by courage, creativity, and morality. Chiron explained the implications. Other exiled or oppressed species will seek you. Some may come with peaceful intentions, others with demands or fear. You must be ready to lead without ruling, to inspire without conquest. Asha considered this carefully. Leadership is not dominance, it is responsibility. We will guide, protect, and support, but always with respect for choice. Diplomacy training became another focus. Humans taught Xerans about negotiation, ethics, and dialogue. Xerans, in turn, shared their understanding of galactic politics, long-term strategy, and cultural nuance. Together, they explored how to handle complex situations where fear, greed, or pride could disrupt peaceful resolutions. Asha oversaw a mock negotiation, where humans and Xerans simulated discussions with distant alien civilizations. Always remember, she said, strength is measured not by weapons but by principles. If we remain ethical, creative, and adaptable, we can achieve what others cannot. Chiron nodded. You are teaching us more than technology. You are teaching us how to survive morally in a galaxy that often values power over life. Despite the calm, Earth remained on alert. Council scouts were known to patrol nearby systems. Humans and Xerans monitored their movements, constantly adapting defenses. Each new strategy relied on both species' strengths, human unpredictability and Xeran precision. The first test came when a small Council scout ship approached Earth, clearly trying to intimidate. It fired warning pulses toward orbital stations. Humans responded with non-lethal countermeasures, redirecting energy to harmless decoys and masking true power levels. The scout withdrew, misjudging Earth's capability. Chiron watched, impressed. You do not fight to destroy but to protect. That is why your strategies succeed where brute force fails. Asha replied, We fight to defend life, not to conquer. That is the difference. As the weeks passed, the partnership deepened. Human and Xeran engineers developed interstellar communication networks capable of connecting exiles across distant systems. Scientists experimented with hybrid medicine, improving health outcomes for both species. Cultural centers blossomed, blending music, art, and language in ways that celebrated unity rather than dominance. Even daily life changed. Xerans learned to cook human foods, while humans experimented with Xeran flavors and methods. Children from both species played games that combined agility, strategy, and imagination. Laughter became common in places that had once echoed only with silence and fear. Chiron observed these moments and realized that survival was more than staying alive. It was thriving, building trust, and creating meaning. Perhaps exile was a lesson, he said softly. It forced us to find humanity's heart in the galaxy. Asha placed a hand on his shoulder. And perhaps humanity found its purpose in protecting life beyond its own world. Together, we are stronger than fear. But peace, as always, was temporary. Reports arrived from other systems. Smaller species, inspired by Earth's example, were attempting to escape oppression or tyranny. Some succeeded, some failed, but all sent messages to Earth, seeking guidance or sanctuary. Humans and Xerans realized that their role had expanded. They were no longer simply protecting one species. They were becoming guardians of hope in a galaxy that often abandoned it. Chiron remarked, You have not only saved us, you have become a symbol for the rest of the galaxy. Others will look to Earth and see what is possible. Asha's gaze was steady. Symbols are meaningless without action. We must protect, guide, and teach wherever we can. That is the work ahead. Plans were made to extend the hybrid technologies and defenses to orbiting platforms, making Earth a safer place for anyone seeking refuge. Joint missions were organized to reach exiles and oppressed species in nearby systems, bringing medical aid, technical support, and moral encouragement. Humanity's reach was growing, not through domination, but through courage, ingenuity, and moral responsibility. Chiron stood in a control room one evening, watching human and Xeran crews coordinate a rescue mission simulation. Your species is remarkable, he said. Others would rely on fear or force. You rely on intelligence, creativity, and compassion. That is why the galaxy must pay attention. Asha replied, We have no desire to dominate. We only seek to protect, to help, and to inspire. If others follow because of that, it is because they see a better way, not because we forced it. The final days of preparation before the new missions were busy but hopeful. Humans and Xerans trained, repaired ships, and shared stories of their past struggles and triumphs. A sense of unity pervaded every corner of Earth's stations. Even the Council, observing from afar, began to understand that humanity could not be intimidated, outmaneuvered, or easily controlled. Chiron, speaking to a gathering of both species, said, We have survived exile. We have survived threats. And now, together, we will show the galaxy that life in any form deserves protection, hope, and freedom. Asha looked around at the faces of humans and Xerans alike. We are united by purpose, not by fear. Together we will face the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as protectors. And in doing so, we will prove that even in the darkest corners of space, hope can shine. Above Earth, the stars shone brightly, reflecting the promise of what lay ahead. Humanity had taken in the exiles. They had nurtured trust, built technology, and inspired unity. The galaxy was watching, and for the first time, many species dared to believe that life could be defended not by force alone, but by courage, ingenuity, and heart. The next chapter of their journey would test their unity even further. But for now, humans and Xerans celebrated survival, growth, and the unbreakable bond they had formed. Together, they were ready to face whatever challenges the galaxy would send next.